Hello and welcome to the KE Report. Chad and Corey here, getting an update from AbraSilver Resource Corp. Traded on the TSX.V under the ticker ABRA and on the OTC markets under the ticker ABBRF. And we're joined today with the president and CEO of AbraSilver, John Miniotis, and the chief geologist, David O'Connor. And Dave and John, it's great to have you on the show, as always, to get an update on AbraSilver. We're kicking things off today with the news that you just released to the market today about some of the holes from the Phase 4 drill program at the Diablillos project in Argentina. 3 holes released here. The key takeaway for me just looking at these is that they're very wide intercepts, as always, and good mineralization, just kind of expanding the southwest of the JAC zone. So I guess, John, let me throw it over to you first just to kick us off with kind of a high-level takeaway from some of the first drill results from the Phase 4 drill program.
Excellent. Thanks very much for having us back on. Yeah, no, of course, we've been very, very busy over the past several months now with our Phase 4 drill campaign. We have 3 rigs operating at site. And as you mentioned, we just received back the first set of assay results from the lab from this Phase 4 program. And so we issued the press release. I'd say overall, we're very pleased with the initial results. And so importantly, this included 3 holes, as you mentioned, towards the southern boundary of the existing JAC deposit. And all 3 holes hit very good silver intercepts near surface. And it just goes to show JAC is still open to the south, remains one of our priority target areas. But importantly, I think, look, we have several other holes right now, pending assay results as well from the lab, not only in JAC, but also in various other zones across Diablillos. And so we think, as we get back more and more results here, could really open up additional exploration areas here outside of JAC as well. And so, of course, that'll be very positive. So early days in the exploration campaign with only the first set of results coming in. But yeah, good to see some nice high-grade silver zones there towards the southern boundary of JAC. We expect JAC will continue to grow, and we're keenly waiting for additional holes with some of the other new target areas that we've been drilling as well here.
Dave, let's dive into these 3 holes that are highlighted within the news release that intercepted some significant silver mineralization. Hole 3 was drilled in an area that was thought to be, or at least was recently classified as waste. That was 33 meters at 87 grams per ton silver. Hole 4 is a conversion hole, converting inferred to indicated. That's the highest grade result. And then hole 5, 35-meter step out to the south of the conceptual open pit. Simplify these results. What do you think is more significant in terms of adding ounces, or is it the conversion of ounces that investors should focus on here?
These are just the 3 first holes in this area. This area of JAC extending towards the southwest and the nearby Alpaca area, which is to the north of JAC, is an area that has historical drilling, which is not connected to the resource, no resource on it because it's widespread drilling. We've drilled a few holes there ourselves and got intercepts which were announced previously. We're going now from the known to the unknown, so we drilled adjacent to the resource at JAC, and these holes, when the new resource estimate is carried out, will expand the resources, I think, in the more likely the measured category rather than the indicated. But anyway, we are expanding our drilling program towards the south and west of JAC. We expect the mineralization to continue in that direction, and we will be drilling between on a perpendicular zone between JAC and Alpaca. So that's the southwestern part. If you want, I can start getting lyrical about the northeastern part as well.
Well, David, I'd like to ask you about that just because the section that's the northeast is exciting, but I also want you to talk about what you mentioned there, the perpendicular between JAC and Alpaca, because isn't JAC North also in that area? And then how could Alpaca potentially connect to JAC? That's a question that I think a lot of people have.
If you look at the magnetic map, there's zones of low magnetic intensity. The southwest trending zone is the main zone, southwest trending zone is the main zone on which JAC is mineralized and which is the extension of the mineralization at Oculto. That's what we're following now. But perpendicular to that, on a perpendicular low magnetic intensity zone, there's a zone going from JAC up to Alpaca. Now, whether you call it JAC North or Alpaca, it's the connection of those two zones along that perpendicular magnetic low intensity that we will be drilling. And we expect to hit mineralization. I mean, there's historical mineralization in that area.
We can see figure 1 of that latest plan view drill hole. That actually can help show where some of these drill holes are and just how close Alpaca is to JAC. Talk about some of the other drilling coming up then. We see these dark holes on this map. They're spread out in a number of different targets. Take us through when we should expect to see these results, which ones you're looking most forward to.
Right. We are drilling to extend the entire Oculto JAC system is at least 2 kilometers long. The center of it is underneath what's called the Tesoro zone in the Oculto area. So the hotspot of this system is in Oculto, where there's silver and gold mineralization. That extends for about 1.5 kilometers to the end of JAC, where it is entirely silver, and that's where we're drilling now. It's open to the northeast, and theoretically, there's no reason why it shouldn't be open to the same distance to the northeast. So we expect at least 1 kilometer strike length of mineralization without any drilling in it yet. Although we are drilling there right now. We don't have any results, but we're drilling there right now. And we expect mineralization to expand towards the northeast. So we're drilling Oculto northeast, and we're drilling JAC southwest. Those are the two ends of the system. However, there's another area of interest from historical drilling, one historical hole, which got 11 grams per ton of gold at a shallow depth in over a 1 meter interval, called Cerro Bayo. Cerro Bayo is a few hundred meters south of the Oculto northeast area, and we will only be drilling that. In a couple of weeks' time, we're going to be carrying out some detailed structural mapping. We've got some experts in to do our detailed structural mapping job. I'll be going up there with them to kick them off. And once we have that map, which will be in about 3 weeks' time, we'll be then using that map to help site other drill holes in the Cerro Bayo and Oculto northeast area. And whereas there's a deeper cover in that area, we think that, well, we're almost certain that there's some pretty high-grade mineralization lurking at depth.
Well, Dave, just one more follow-up for you on the drilling. It's exciting to see it growing to the southwest and the northeast, but there is also a couple of holes, it looks like, that are planned for Fantasma. We've talked about that in the past, but just give us an update on what the goal is for those. It looks like maybe 3 holes planned for that area.
Fantasma has a historical resource. The historical resource didn't quite cut the grade to be included in the resource estimate, but that will be reviewed. The Fantasma zone is approximately 1 kilometer to the west of Oculto. You can see a low magnetic anomaly connecting Fantasma with Oculto. We'll be drilling to test that. That is a second priority target because of what we anticipate the grades to be based on historical drilling of Fantasma. The higher grades we expect to be Oculto northeast and JAC southwest, but Fantasma is a resource that may well be included in the next study.
Can you remind everyone what some of those historical results were? We can see at Fantasma some holes scattered out towards that Oculto northeast, but what were some of those past grades?
At Fantasma, the average grade there is about 100 grams per ton of historical resource estimated. And as I say, it wasn't included in the PFS resource estimate. There is higher grade. There's up to around about 145 grams per ton in there. And we will be drilling some holes to try and augment higher grade. There's no point in expanding lower grade because that will come in at the tail end of the mining exercise. So we're aiming for higher grade, and we expect to find that both in the northeast of Oculto and the southwest of JAC, and that's where we're concentrating our efforts right now. And, of course, as I just mentioned, Cerro Bayo, which is an unknown quantity, and that's where we're doing our mapping to try and help site the holes.
All right, so it sounds like there's a lot of different targets getting drilling in this Phase 4 program, so we're going to keep our eyes peeled for more assay results as they come in. but I will include the image under this interview for those listening in so you can see where the 3 holes we discussed today are, as well as some of the planned holes for the drill program as it continues to roll along. John, I do want to bring up a point that we talked about in our last discussion with Hernan, but I think that you have a little more clarity on it now, and that is how this investment regime for large investments bill, also nicknamed RIGI, is going to be transformative on an economic basis for AbraSilver and really for probably a lot of companies in the area. But speak to how it directly impacts how you're looking at the economics on this project now based on how that bill changes the game.
Yeah, that's excellent. So it really, truly is a game changer. I think last time we spoke about a month ago on that RIGI economic reform bill had just been approved by the Senate. And so that was a major, major milestone. But importantly, now the bill has officially been passed into law. And so that's now, as you mentioned, it's hard to overstate the importance of that. I think the economic incentives here now are truly a game changer for Argentina as a whole. And specifically to us in our Diablillos project, of course, back in March, we announced a pre-feasibility study. And, there's detailed tables in there where we, break down the impact of the export duties, impact of income taxes. And I've summarized those as well. There's a slide in our corporate presentation. You can see as part of the export duties for both gold and silver, assuming only $23.50 silver, $18.50 gold. So assuming very conservative commodity prices, the export duties amounted to almost $250 million US over the entire mine plan here. And importantly now, as part of the new bill, which has officially been implemented into law, those export duties will disappear from year 3 onwards. And so that's, saves hundreds of millions of dollars. So very, very significant update there. And similarly with taxes, previous tax rate was 35%. And so we were assuming we'd be paying over $500 million US in taxes over the life of mine. Now with the new RIGI, taxes are going to be 25% and over the entire mine life. And so that would save north of $150 million, again, at those conservative commodity prices. If you apply higher commodity prices, of course, your tax savings are even more than that. So some very, very positive impacts. Again, really opens a door to Argentina, to new projects being developed. And that's what this whole incentive regime is meant to do. It's meant to encourage large-scale investment. It only applies for new investments over $200 million. And Diablillos, of course, falls into that category. So yeah, we see this as excellent for companies, incentivize them to build new projects, which would obviously help Argentina as a whole.
Well, investors have been looking at Argentina much more favorably over the last little while, the change in government and even some of the work going on there. John, what have you heard from investors then in terms of their interest in ABRA, but because of that Argentinian focus here, and because investors seem to be looking at Argentina as one of the better South American countries to operate or be exploring in?
Yeah, it's been, again, an absolute transformation here over the last 12 months. I'd say historically for us, as we've been marketing, like 12 months ago, and even before that, the number one question we would get asked is, most commonly, investors would hear the presentation. They'd say, look, we have clearly a world-class asset here, high grades, close to surface, low cost, low capex, everything's going for you. But they're always skeptical with Argentina, just with Argentina having export duties and FX restrictions and high taxes. And, the government, it's always been seen as posing large hurdles that would hinder development. And that's completely changed. So we've absolutely seen a 180 there. Now, investors are specifically looking for projects in Argentina. We happen to have certainly one of the largest, sort of most advanced silver projects in the country, for sure. And so we're seeing that now, instead of Argentina posing a significant headwind that we would have to convince people, look, there are a number of mines in Argentina. If you have excellent deposit, it's still a place where you can do business, and there's lots of operating mines, and there's ways that you can work around the system. But now that's no longer the case. Now it's, people looking for direct exposure to Argentina. It's one of the last sort of frontiers where you have excellent geology, but historically it's been underinvested. So we're seeing that change not only from institutional investors, from retail investors, but also corporates as well. I think so. We've, of course, a few months ago, we announced a financing by Kinross. That was their first investment into Argentina, and also Central Puerto, which is Argentina's largest utility company. That was their first investment ever into a mining company. And of course, in January, we also announced an earning agreement with Teck, and that was one of their first investments in Argentina in several decades. So we're seeing a big transformational shift. More and more people have Argentina on their radar, actively looking at opportunities in the country. And I think we're, of course, very well positioned, having all our assets in the country now.
Well, I think we'll wrap it up there. That's a great summary of the changes going on in Argentina. Positive changes for the economics, but also for the mining industry in general. And nice to see companies like Kinross and Teck and Central Puerto coming into Argentina for the first time and partnering with AbraSilver. And you guys have a lot of drill news on tap, so we'll keep our eyes peeled for more news releases as they come out. But if people listening in want to follow along with the news at AbraSilver, definitely click on the link below this interview. It takes you right over to the company website, straight to their news section, so you too can follow along with the assays as they are reported. And Dave and John, great to have you on the show as always. Looking forward to our next conversation.
Thanks very much.
Our pleasure. Thanks very much.